Kaya, Kwaba Kiji, Junang Nunda, Mandamang Yaranga, Wadandi Buja. Hello, good to see you together on Wadandi country. Nagalak, Kachi, Wadandi, Yunang Yali, Wadandi Buja. We acknowledge Wadandi people as the country traditional owners and Wadandi country. I declare this meeting open at 5:31. We have tonight approved leave from our Shire President, Julia Meldrum. Point 3, do I have any disclosures of interests, councillors? No, thank you. Point 4, public questions. We have on record response to previous public questions taken on notice. Do I have any questions from the public gallery? Thank you. Would you like to come forward, Mark? Yes.
Right. Thank you. Do you want me to do my name and address? Yep. Mark Murray, 57 Gardner Road, Corrimup. Just a question regarding the motion that was passed at the electors meeting regarding reconsider the narrative around climate action alarmism and climate emergency as stated in the climate action plan. And for some reason it looks like it says adaptation plan, but my understanding was that motion was action plan. Is the council aware that the climate action plan part 2 that's been deferred, is the council aware that as the climate action plan part 2, which I know you know, has been deferred to the 26th of March 2025, I'm not sure the meeting can tonight deal with what the officer's recommendations are. I'll just leave that to you guys. Maybe that is deferred to the March meeting as well, obviously in your guys' court. Just so you know, the Lower South West Growers Group will be having suggestions regarding amendments to the 11 projects. So what we see is some very poorly worded and very poorly consulted content and language of those 11 projects. It's frightfully important, given suggestion it will guide the strategic plan. Thank you. Oh, so yeah, just making.
Thank you, Mr. Murray. We appreciate you reading the minutes so carefully, and we certainly will be considering that matter this evening. And you're correct that the climate adaptation plan will be brought to the March meeting, so we will discuss that further. Thank you, and we appreciate any input from community groups too, so thank you. Are there any other questions from the gallery?
I did have one other one that I thought might have been read by yourself.
Sure.
Sorry, it was. Thank you for the officers reporting how the bushfire mitigation funds were spent. I didn't feel like it answered the question still as to what it was spent on. So, look, and I'm not aware that Shire of Augusta Margaret River do protective burns, and that costs the Shire money. But you know, if the officers were just able to elaborate on that further as to what that funds. Obviously, the funds weren't the over 600,000 that the state government suggested, but what it was actually spent on would be great. Sorry, and I did give that to Emma only yesterday, or I think it was yesterday, just to ask about that because, of course, those were answered in the minutes. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Murray. I'm sure we can take that on notice. Director Logan?
Yeah, I will take that on notice and provide a more fulsome response in the minutes. The funding provides for a combination of mechanical mitigation works and prescribed burning. The prescribed burning is typically undertaken by our volunteers under the stewardship of the Community Emergency Services Manager and in conjunction with other agencies where it's necessary. But I'll provide some more detail in a written response.
Thank you, Mr. Logan. We now move on to item 5, applications for leave of absence. I believe I do have one councillor. Yes.
I'd like to apply for a leave of absence for the OCM on the 26th of March, if that's okay.
Do I have a councillor to second that? Thank you, Councillor Jath. Let's take that to a vote, please, councillors. All those in favour? Thank you, and that's passed unanimously. I'd like to move on to item number 6, confirmation of minutes of previous meeting. Do I have a councillor who'd like to move a motion? Councillor Boland?
Yes, I'm happy to move those minutes, but I have an amendment to them.
Councillor to second that. Thank you, Councillor Canal.
In relation to the amendment, I think we'll have that up on the screen shortly. And so the amendment is there that in the record of voting, the word support, sorry, this is in relation to item, sorry if we go back, 11.2.1, I think it is. From the last, oh, sorry, sorry, that doesn't need to be in there, sorry. Oh, well, yeah, okay, put it in. I think from memory is 11.2.1. So what's in the minutes that are on the website at the moment, make a change that in the record of voting, the word support be omitted and replaced with the word against in council decisions amendment to condition 3 and amendment to condition 16 as follows. And the councillors that were for and against are the same, but the changes to Councillor Meldrum then cast her second vote against the amendment and it was lost 4-3. So that occurs in 2 places in the minutes. So I move that amendment because that reflects what happened on those votes.
Yeah, I'll second.
think I've spoken to it. Yes, fairly self-explanatory. So just seeking that amendment to the minutes, and then I assume we'd move on to accepting the minutes as amended. Oh, sorry.
Thank you, Councillor Boland. Could we please put that to the vote? All those in favour? Thank you, and that's passed unanimously. Thank you.
It was both, was it? That was the amendment and the new minutes. Thank you.
Now I'd like to move on to item 7, deputations, and I would like to call forward, please, Lisa Bell. Thank you. And if you could... Great. Yeah. If you just could give us your name and address, thank you.
Okay, did you get that? Do I start again? Lisa Bell, 50 Burke Circle, Quarrama.
Paul Gatopoulos, 16 Wandoo in Quarrama.
Okay, good to go. All right, so first of all, thanks very much for everyone's interest in this matter and giving us the opportunity to provide input in the last few weeks. It really feels like we're starting to get some traction and we're really optimistic about that. So we'll keep it really brief because we have to. So we've just got 3 points to make. One is around community engagement, second is timing, and the third is prioritisation. So first of all, the formation and the collaboration with the community working group is absolutely paramount to the successful implementation of this strategy. The community wasn't consulted in the preparation of the strategy, so it's really, really, really important that they're involved in the, the fine-tuning of the actions and the implementation of it.
Yeah. So I guess it's been acknowledged on the benefits of the community working group, and I think that's very positive in its integration with the ITS implementation. And I think it's more just stressing the benefits and experience in this matter, it being that almost the efficiency of the ITS and the integration with other stakeholder groups, whether it be community, main roads, the Shire itself and other interested groups, it can produce a really solid outcome. So even what's been identified in the ITS, and this has been found over previous community groups, is that sometimes the value add is actually seen through the community group, and it sometimes even goes beyond the strategy itself. So I think the support for this, I think it's identified as to the benefit, but I think it's, in what I've seen over the years in particular, the benefit is realised even further once the community groups are really in full flight as part of that ITS implementation. So we support that as part of especially in relation to the development of the precinct plan.
Yeah. And timing? Yeah,
so I guess the timing, we've obviously acknowledged and noted that the development of the precinct plan in 24-25, we acknowledge it's a very tight time frame in the implementation of it, but I guess one is the acknowledgement of the importance that's been placed on the preparation for it in this period. But one thing for sure is that I guess one is the importance of it, but also the prioritisation on the timing of it and the integration of that community working group almost needs to be formulated sooner rather than later because we've got such a tight time frame. So I think that prioritisation is almost imperative. So not just for the working group, but also the integration as to the development of that precinct plan.
And just finally on the subject of prioritisation, the need to address really fundamental transport issues and road safety issues in Quarrama was identified 20 years ago. We're still no significant funding's been allocated. So we're now at a situation where the road network is almost at saturation. Major congestion issues, and our risk profile is actually very alarming. There is a general sentiment in town that government won't do anything until someone dies. Given the demographic profile of our town, that's likely to be a child. And then you look at the issues related to congestion for the rest of the Shire. So we're at a point now. No, sorry, no. So yeah, we're at a point now where we just say please put this as a priority for the Shire, and yeah, I guess we hand it over to you guys to really push this and get some runs on the board.
That's it.
Thank you both. We really appreciate your input and your work on this. Thank you. I'd now like to call forward Erin Hutton, please. Thank you.
Erin Hutton, 176 Thompson Road, Witchcliffe. My deputation's on behalf of the Lower South West Growers Group. But just to start with, I just want to make it clear so we're on the same page. And this is, correct me if I'm wrong, the motion that I put forward at the annual general electors meeting last month was written into the minutes as a motion regarding the climate adaptation plan. And it was actually meant to be, must have been a misunderstanding. My reference was to the Climate Action Plan Part 1. But I'll speak, if I can continue, I'll speak to the Climate Adaptation Plan to start with, which I think is where a lot of the confusion lays. So a group of us met, a group of the members of the Growers Group met to discuss the Climate Action Plan generally. As we all know, the Shire population in 2023 was 18,620. The Shire produces 0.28% of the gross state product. And we know the largest industry by output is construction, followed by agriculture, forestry and fishing, and accommodation food services is even though it's less gross product, it's the largest industry by employment. So the Climate Action Plan Part 2 has a reference to a number of names within the attachment of the agenda dated the 11th of December 2024. It starts with the Augusta Margaret River Action Plan Part 2 towards resilience. It goes to Climate Action Plan Part 2 toward climate adaptation and resilience. Then around a word cloud illustrating how our community is resilient, taken from the Climate Adaptation Plan Community Survey 2024. It's on page 147 of the agenda. And then page 148, it mentions 8 core principles that underpin the development of this Climate Adaptation Plan, figure 6. The attachment to the ordinary meeting, December 11th, 2024, notes 249 submissions from community members through Your Say survey and a series of 3 community workshops, as well as workshops held with the Shire reference groups and whole of staff, resulting in five priority risk areas identified plus 70 actions. Approximately, this makes up, the numbers consulted make up 0.133% of the Shire. This leads the South West Growers Group to question the community, if the community consultation has been sufficient. The Climate Action Plan Part 2 towards resilience has morphed to become the Shire's first climate adaptation plan. Most noteworthy are limitations on localised, scaled-down, up-to-date data for both climate science and vulnerabilities in the region and the community. This is taken from the plan itself. So there's an acknowledgement from the beginning. In regards to the Climate Action Plan Part 1, which was the intended subject of the motion put forward at the general electors meeting, requesting councillors reconsider the narrative around the climate alarmism and the climate emergency as stated in the Climate Action Plan Part 1, which has been responded to by the officer comments on this agenda. However, due to the potential influence on the social fabric of the Augusta Margaret River community, it really needs to be taken into consideration seriously. The main problem that the grower group sees is that it doesn't create division in itself, but it implies a need for change in such a way that can potentially create division. So the first project noted on the Climate Action Plan is to assist the AMR CCE to spearhead a major renewable project. So the lack of consultation there is one of the main concerns that the grower group has. A lack of landowner consultations, particularly to a major project, has created division within a long-standing farming community between friends, neighbours and relatives. This has happened now and already. It's not a potential risk, it's happening. Project 4, support ag transition into regenerative farming via the LCDC. Risks and unintended consequences listed, concern about profitability, no profit, no farm. This needs to be the priority that has come with the intention to use the regenerative practice to mitigate climate change via soil health and biodiversity. Once again, creating a narrative around regenerative farming is the only way forward to achieve the Shire's goals to net zero from an agricultural perspective. Anyone not advertising or spruiking themselves as regenerative and not seeking to be part of the regen movement are akin to environmental vandals. Now, this isn't stated, of course, on the plan.
Me, Erin. Sorry, probably just like 30 seconds left,
Thanks.
just to ensure everyone gets a turn.
Yep. This isn't stated, of course, on the plan, but it's how a lot of commercial farmers in the area are feeling because of the investment put in by the Shire into these groups via this plan. Project 10, coordinate, implement and champion the AMR Climate Action Plan as mentioned in the officer comments included in the agenda to this meeting. This project, along with the other 10, was a result of the Climate Action Summit of 2019, held with the World Surfing League and WA Surfing League. Why a state and international sporting organisation were consulted with and not the local farming who are affected directly? Who within the Shire is qualified to declare a climate emergency? And why, as stated in the protection description, give more power to the group? The Climate Action Reference Group, made up of one rep from each priority project, champions from the community, young people, effective communications and marketing partner with the Shire. That's it. So I actually requested an extended time and Julia was going to let me know tonight if I could get an extension.
Thank you, Ms Hutton. I have given you some extra time. I'll allow you another minute if you'd like to finish up.
Thanks.
Sure.
I've nearly finished.
Great.
Project 11, lobby for change at the state and federal political level, social movement, young people, climate justice, democracy school, taking action, intended outcome, removal of social licence of companies destroying the planet. Intended outcome, removal of social licence of companies destroying the planet. What companies locally destroy the planet? So does this imply those not practising regen are destroying the planet? Officer comment on this agenda, the Climate Action Plan previously adopted by Council does refer to the climate emergency and references the outcomes of the community-led Climate Action Summit, including Project 11, lobby for change at the state and federal political level. That includes in its description, build an integrated social movement led by young people for climate justice, democracy school with ongoing activist skills training. It is important to note that while the Shire does undertake advocacy around climate issues, Project 11 is not a Shire-led project. So the question is, well, who's leading it? if it's not led by the Shire because it's on the Climate Action Plan and it's Project 11. So is it one of the groups that the Shire funds in order to activate these projects? Either way, the Shire must be at some level responsible for what is being, what comes out of these projects. Was the project contracted out, for instance, to the Margaret River Regional Environment Centre, offering letter writing lessons and analysis for native forests, etc.? Is the Climate Action Plan Part 1 a current document? So I've just almost finished. Is it referred to by staff? If so, the Lower South West Grower Group requests Action Plan Part 1 be fully reviewed by Council to consider concerns around lack of public and landowner agricultural consultation, as the Climate Action Plan is supporting document for the Community Strategic Plan, as mentioned earlier, and the Draft Climate Action Plan Part 2 towards resilience, proposed Climate Adaptation Plan will no doubt be of the same ilk. Is it not imperative that these documents are given a whole of community approach with focus on landowners who are going to be most impacted? Thanks.
Thank you, Ms Hutton. Appreciate that. Councillors, are there any questions at all for Ms Hutton? No. Thank you. Thank you for that. Mr Mark Murray, would you like to speak?
Thank you again, Mark Murray, 57 Gardner Road. Thanks for your time. Again, it's on agriculture, so we're doing our best to make sure that we're being very much heard, and we're glad that it sounds like we're being listened to. So at the electors meeting on the 22nd of January, there's a motion passed requesting the AMR Shire to form an agricultural policy in 2025 with stakeholder consultation. I feel like this is my opportunity to speak to the motion and the Lower South West Growers Group as well. The importance of agriculture and the food bowl and agricultural products have been started to be raised with the AMR Shire and Council due to some inequities in agriculture in the LPS draft number 2, which the agriculture community rallied on. It was great to see Council adjust, for example, the importance of priority agriculture zoning in the Shire endorsed LPS 2, but it can't end there. There's no policy supporting agriculture, and there must be. Farmers locally and around the world for decades and centuries have gone about farming, but governments everywhere, including here in Australia, are now and have recently been overreaching, maybe not with wrong and potential uneducated intent, but items like Project 4 in the Climate Action Plan Part 2 suggest farmers must transition to regenerative agriculture is a joke. As I previously said, farmers are already acting in regenerative ways, and suggesting that they don't is disrespectful to say the least. Regenerative agriculture is just a new term that sounds educated and well considered, but farmers have been farming sustainably for decades and centuries, and will not have farms to farm if they don't act that way and continue to adapt. So there is a reflection on that too, in fairness. As the agenda for tonight notes, and I also note the agricultural roundtables have commenced, which is great, with 2 conducted already and the next to occur on the 11th of March 2025. Have council or councillors been briefed on these at all? Just a question. The officer talks of other avenues in consultation, that is, sorry, but I stress the importance of us actually doing this, or council actually doing this, setting an agricultural policy. I asked the AMR Shire to set policies to support agriculture and farming in this Shire. Farmers make up a substantial portion of rates and ratepayers here, putting weight behind the need. Thank a farmer every day for their food. I'll leave it up to councillors if they wish to defer their agreement to set agricultural policy, or not. That I'm not saying to not agree to this tonight, but you might consider deferring this agenda item till the March meeting. Sorry, I've read ahead here. As of course there is the 11th of March agricultural roundtable, which may give them more insight, and I suggest that councillors too could be invited to observe the next ag roundtable. Although there is no need to wait, the need is now, and I ask that agricultural policy is set in 2025, encouraging agricultural awareness and gratitude. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, and I greatly appreciate having farmers turn up and let their views be known. Thank you. Pam Townsend, would you like to come forward? Thank you.
Pam Townsend, 12 Elvis Street, Margaret River. I'm also addressing that same agenda item. So it's true that the climate is always changing. It's also true that our Earth systems are changing at an unprecedented rate due to the amount of CO2, methane, nitrous oxide, the greenhouse gases, that are being released into our atmosphere from burning fossil fuels, industrial practices, and industrial food production. At the same time, we're clearing and burning vegetation that draws down that carbon and stores it. We are all in denial of the climate science to some extent, and it's along a scale. There's total denial of the climate science, and then there are people who understand the climate science but still fly a lot, buy too many clothes, drive cars, eat stuff that's got lots of food miles, and participate in stupid things every day. We all do it. We're all in denial. The science is conclusive, but are we doing enough to really stop or even slow climate change? Probably not enough. Of course it's an emergency. Of course we need to be alarmed. Farmers are pivotal to our future. Food is important. The capacity for soil to capture and hold carbon is important, and how carefully farmers treat their soil, their remaining native vegetation and wildlife is also super important. And farmers are on the front line of climate change because they're directly impacted, and this is around the world and here, by the changing weather patterns, extreme events around the world caused by global warming, and experiencing issues like droughts, floods, heat waves, changing pest patterns, and these all significantly affect their ability to produce crops and livestock, making them highly vulnerable to the impacts of climate change. And I think we all want to show respect to farmers who produce our food. And I believe that if some of the language in the action plan or the adaptation plan is offensive to the climate, to the farmers, then let's change it. But we also need to acknowledge that it is an emergency and it is a crisis. So let's work together. Let's work together to do something in our Shire and really make some climate action and really work together towards resilience in our climate adaptation plan. I think that's our challenge. Thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate that sentiment, working together. Thank you. We now move, and I would just like to say thank you to everyone today. It's great to have people in the gallery attending. Thank you. We move to item 8, petitions. We have no petitions before us. Now, item 9, announcements. Thank you to Underlup Association for over the weekend. They put on a wonderful Boonaroo Festival, which was well attended and enjoyed by many, so thank you. We're also approaching International Women's Day, and I would like to acknowledge the passing of a phenomenal woman in our community, Andrea Roche. She was a volunteer with a number of community groups, particularly groups that helped vulnerable women and children in our community. She was a doula and helped birth a number of children. She helped a number of sporting groups too, and she will be sadly missed. So It's just important to acknowledge those special people. Thank you. I have a further announcement to make. I would like to announce that on the 24th of February 2025, the CEO received a written notice from Councillor Jones tendering her resignation as a councillor. That will be effective from tomorrow, the 27th of February 2025, meaning that this will be the Councillor Jones's final meeting as a councillor. Councillor Jones has requested that she be permitted to address the meeting, and as there is no specific clause in the standing orders that permits or prohibits another councillor speaking during the presiding member's announcements, I have, as a presiding member, decided to allow Councillor Jones the opportunity to present and address the meeting. She joins us via Teams. Thank you, Councillor Jones. I'll hand over to you.
Thank you, Councillor Muir. I would just like to address the CEO, the Shire President and fellow councillors of the Shire of Augusta Margaret River. It is with profound regret and a heavy heart that I formally tender my resignation as a councillor for the Shire of Augusta Margaret River, effective Thursday, 27th of February 2025. After careful consideration and much reflection, I have reached the incredibly difficult decision, one that I do not make lightly, despite my leave of absence for personal matters. I had every intention of returning to the Shire and resuming my duties. However, circumstances beyond my control have made this impossible, meaning I must now step away from my role. Serving this community has been an immense privilege, and I am profoundly grateful for the opportunity to work alongside my fellow councillors and the dedicated staff representing the incredible community who make this Shire such a remarkable place. I extend my heartfelt thanks to my colleagues for their support and understanding during this difficult and challenging time. To the community, I offer my deepest gratitude for your trust, encouragement and engagement throughout my time in this role. Although I will no longer serve in an official capacity, my dedication to the Shire of Augusta Margaret River remains steadfast. I have every confidence that the Council will continue to serve our community with distinction, and I wish both the Council and our community continued success and prosperity in the years ahead. With my sincerest appreciation and best wishes, Councillor Nikki Jones. Thank you.
Councillor Jones, thank you so much for that heartfelt and very well said words. We will certainly miss you, and we greatly thank you for your contribution. You've been a fantastic advocate for our community, and we've been lucky to have you. We really wish you all the best for the future. Thank you.
Thank you.
We will now move on to item 10, questions from members of which due notice has been given. I have none before me. So we now move on to item 11.2.1, road realignment, lot 1003 Witchcliffe. Councillors, do I have anyone who would like to put forward a motion? Councillor Earl? Thank you. Thank you, Councillor Boland. Would you like to speak to that, Councillor? No? Councillor Boland?
Yes, thank you. It's good that we're saving this very significant tree. In our agenda, we say it's 450 years old. I've been hearing at least 450 years old, possibly 800 years old. Whatever, it's a very long time that tree's been there, and it would be a shame to have lost it. So appreciate the developer adjusting their plans to achieve this outcome. Thank you.
Are there any other councillors who would like to speak to this? No, thank you. I'd like to concur with Councillor Boland. It is wonderful that we've worked together as a community to achieve such a good outcome. So thank you. Councillors, can I put this to the vote? All those in agreement? Thank you. That was carried unanimously. And we now move on to item 11.2.2, the Local Emergency Management Committee, notes from 12th of November 2024. Do I have a councillor who'd like to put this forward? Thank you, Councillor Canal and Councillor Boland. Thank you. Councillor Canal, would you like to speak to this?
Yeah, I'd just like to move the officer's recommendation as written. Okay.
Councillor Boland?
Yes, I'm in favour of the officer recommendation. I did raise something at the meeting, the pre-agenda review meeting last week, because at this meeting, Sergeant Taplin, who was in the OIC at the Margaret River Police Station, raised an issue which is in the minutes about the intersection of Caves Road and Redgate Road being a, I'm just looking for the wording, but it's not seeing it at the moment, but there'd been a number of incidents there. So my recollection of the meeting was that there was going to be some investigation of what could be done at that intersection. So I did raise it last week. I haven't heard back to date, so I don't know where we're at. Might be something for the administration to comment on, but it's probably something that we need to pay some attention to.
Director Logan, would you like to speak to this?
Through the chair, yeah, more than happy to bring something back to the council on that issue. I think, you know, if we're talking about risky roads and prioritisation, that's certainly one of the riskiest, you know, the riskiest places in the Shire. We have investigated some solutions to deal with that risk in the past and undertaken some consultation with adjoining residents, and we're kind of at the point now where we need to make a decision about whether reducing speed limits under the safer speeds trial is deemed to be a significant solution, or whether there are other measures that we need to put in place.
Thank you, Director Logan. Are there any other further questions or comments from councillors? No. Thank you. Can we please put that to the vote? All councillors in favour? Thank you. And that was carried unanimously. We now move on to item 11.2.3, Bushfire Advisory Committee, the notes from 20th of November 2024. Do I have a councillor who'd like to put that forward? Thank you, Councillor Earl. And a seconder? Thank you, Councillor Canal. Councillor Earl?
Oh, yeah, thank you. I support the recommendation there. And I'll just go to item 4, and councillors, don't consider it. Make sure it goes in for the next budget. We need a Starlink, because one of the things that we find at every fire that we go to, we're always in a gully, out of range, two ways, can't hit the repeater, can't get the phones, and the Starlink does. Having just a few months ago travelled across Australia in the outback, and at 400 or 500 megabits per second, it's a piece of cake on a Starlink. They've now got the mobile ones you can stick on the top of the Sessam's vehicle so that he can provide that link and continuity just around where the you know, the Sesam normally turns up, and that's what we use as our control point. And yeah, there are other things to spread a bit, but we probably don't need to. That will be enough to make sure that we have all the access to for mobile phones, which is always a challenge for us at every fire. So I support the motion.
Councillor Canal? No. Any other councillors? Yeah, Councillor Boland.
Thank you. Just something also that came up at the agenda review meeting last week. There was reference in the minutes to the fire station. I wasn't clear whether that was the new fire station that was being built. So it's a significant piece of community infrastructure that is being built in our community, and I did raise that, and I think the CEO was possibly going to make some comment now about that project and its benefit to the community.
Through the chair, yes, obviously a massive investment in our community and much needed. I believe the question you asked at the agenda briefing, Councillor Boland, was around getting an update on the progress of that project. Our CESM has been incredibly busy. He's been deployed to Manjimup several times to assist with the incident in Manjimup, the very large incident in Manjimup. So when things settle down, we will certainly ask him to provide council with a detailed update.
Thank you. And I would just like to take this opportunity to thank all the members of the bushfire brigades who have volunteered their time. They're still volunteering this week out at Manjimup. They all went out to Dunsborough and were successful at ensuring no buildings were lost in Dunsborough. They worked over the New Year's, Christmas period. Apparently in our district there were 74 fires this season that they have been deployed to. So thank you for their efforts. Councillors, can we please put this to the vote? All those in favour? Thank you. We now move on to item 11.2.4, the Quarramup Integrated Transport Strategy. Do I have a councillor who'd like to put forward a motion? Thank you, Councillor Binks.
Thank you, Deputy Shire President. I wish to move the officer's recommendation as noted in the agenda.
Thank you. Do I have a councillor who would like to second this? Thank you. Councillor Earl. Councillor Binks, would you like to speak to the motion?
Yes, thank you. I'd like to move, as I've said, move that recommendation, but with some amendments to the officer's recommendation. They should appear on the screen. Would you like me to read it?
Perhaps, Councillor Binks, while we're waiting for them to come forward, if you could read them.
No problems. It's quite easy to follow. The amendment reads that point E be removed and replaced with the following wording: that Council establish and implement a community working group with a primary purpose to assist in the development of the Quarramup Precinct Plan and the Quarramup ITS implementation, full stop. The community working group is to include representatives from relevant community groups, the Shire of Augusta Margaret River and Main Roads WA. That paragraph will be point E. I also wish to add point F, which reads: the Council develop an action plan for staged implementation of the strategy based on feedback received during the community consultation process and collaboration with the community working group. And I'd also like to add point G, which reads: progresses planning for the following within the Quarramup Town Centre. Number 1, intersection improvements along Bustle Highway. Number 2, streetscape enhancements to improve road safety. Number 3, upgrade and expansion of parking facilities. And number 4, upgrade shared pathway network as part of the development of the Quarramup Precinct Plan within 2024/2025. Thank you.
Do I have a councillor who would like to second this motion?
Amendment.
Amendment, my apologies. Thank you, Councillor Earl. Councillor Binks, would you?
Yeah,
Before we proceed, could I just check one thing? What Councillor Binks said is slightly different to what was in the written information that we received. Just in relation to F, it was that council develop an action plan, and I think it reads at the top of that part 2, request the CEO. So just to clarify whether it's requesting the CEO or the council develop.
Yeah, Councillor Boland is correct. I'm happy with that change.
So
For clarification, would you like request the CEO or council develops?
We're actually already requesting the CEO, so just remove the words that council and we go straight into develop. Thank you, Councillor Boland.
Thank you. Thank you for that clarification. Councillor Binks, would you like to speak to this amendment?
Yes, I will. Thank you for the opportunity. I am seeking to add some stronger direction into the officer's recommendation with respect to removing point E that states that we just note, and in fact that council instead establishes. So we take some very specific action on that. I think it's time for that. So I also wish to mention that the level of experience that's in the community at the moment and that the way that they have brought themselves together is fantastic. And that's exactly how we should be working as a council with the members in our community. There are some very experienced people who are willing to shoulder some of the burden of what our staff are already carrying and work together with us. And I think that any time that that is offered to us, if it is appropriate, that we should be taking every opportunity to do that. The other 2 points, I think, likewise, provide some very good, healthy direction to our Shire staff and to the CEO. And for these reasons, I seek to make these amendments and commend them to the other councillors to support.
Councillor Earl? Happy to support them. Thank you. Are there any other councillors who would like to speak to this? No? Thank you. I would like to thank the officers and also our community for trying to work together to establish, I guess, the best outcome for our community. And I think that's really the direction we're trying to go in here, is use the expertise from the community. Councillors, can we put that to the vote, please? All those in favour? Yes? All those in favour, please raise your hand. Thank you. As amended? Yes. Yep. We're just voting on the amendment. Thank you. Thanks, Councillor Boland. That amendment was carried unanimously, and now that forms part of the primary motion. Councillors, can we now please put the full motion to the vote? Is that correct? Or would there... Sorry, councillors, thank you for your patience. Would anyone like to speak to this motion? Councillor Binks, would you like to speak to this whole motion?
I have spoken to the motion.
Thank you, if I may. Yes, I support the motion with the amendment. it'll be interesting how we go here with main roads. And they are a source of some frustration, I guess, over times with what goes on. If you remember back a year or two back, we got umpteen extra signs and all the rest of the stuff, and a worse outcome in Quarramapp when they moved the 40 km/h zone in really close. Well, now they've moved it out towards the bend, just to the south, so that actually has improved the safety in Quarramapp, certainly when you're coming in and out of Memorial Drive. But we appear to be unable to get them to shift the one on the northern side to pass the doctor's surgery. Well, you know, a few oldies go up that way. It'd be nice for them to get up there, but they sound like they're a little bit intransigent on that and don't want to do that. They did come into town, spent a fair bit of time and probably a lot of their money, sorry, our money, because we pay taxes in this state, and put the lines up the street, and that was terrific. You know, I think that's had a really good effect in Quarramapp on the main street of actually helps to narrow the road. The appearance that's narrower, people go a bit slower through town. Mind you, the backup of the traffic's doing that fairly well anyway. So, and it appears that they may well be of a mind to think about perhaps allowing to have a pedestrian crosswalk put in the place. But if they do that, it'll probably be either the first or the second in the state on one of their highways. So let's not hold our breath on that might happen. So, and so one of the, unfortunately, I think one of the impediments to any of this traffic stuff on Bustle High will probably be main roads. And so those that, once we get through an election campaign, we're going to have to go talking hard to politicians who may or may not be in and all the rest to make sure it happens. But a lot of I guess a lot of the stuff that's been talked about, the Quarramapp Community Group, it's in play and it's happening, and you know we've got paths and there is some connectivity which hasn't been there in the past. And yes, there is a bit of a challenge getting across the road, but one of the things that we all have to do as a drivers going through Quarramapp or Margaret River or Witchcliffe, we need to make sure we don't run anybody over, because whether you're in the right or wrong, you're going to be in a lot of trouble. And you as pedestrians, when you're crossing the road in Quarramapp or Margaret River or Witchcliffe or Augusta, you've got to be careful. And you've got to make sure your kids are doing the same, because there is no comeback if somebody runs you over in a car. And certainly none of us were there. So one of the great things we need to do is have some patience. And of course, one of the great things that I'm seeing in our town, across our towns at the moment is when the car stops to let you across, people give a bit of an acknowledgement. That's good, makes you feel good as the driver, and you know it's all part of being in good communities to make sure that we don't run anybody over. But yeah, there's a fair bit to be done. The staff will be getting onto it very shortly, so we'll see where we go.
Thank you, Councillor Earl. Would any other councillor like to add? Thank you, Councillor Dath.
Yeah, I'd like to thank the staff and the community for all the work that's gone into this to this point. I'm really happy to see the inclusion of a community working group. That was a very important role in our Main Street upgrade in Margaret River. So from personal experience, I know being at the table and knowing what was going on was really important. So yeah, I strongly support this amendments and the report, and good luck.
Thank you. And on that note, councillors, yes. Oh, thank you, Councillor Canal. We can't leave you out. Long time, Quarramapp.
That's okay. I feel like we got off track a little bit. Look, within this report itself, there's some really great, simple ideas that are going to help straight away. And for those of us that live there long enough, we've seen it change. I mean, Ian's a forever local, Greg's a forever local, and I've clocked up about 40 years. And I think those of us have just dealt with it. We found ways around the back and gone left instead of right and all of those sorts of things. And I guess it's about people learning and changing their behaviour to that. And some of these little changes in here will allow that to continue and make it a lot easier. I'm disappointed Quarramapp Bay Road doesn't hit this list, because that is like the worst place to turn right. But no, I'm happy for this to go ahead. Darn, I had something else I wanted to add to that as well. At the end of the day, there's no accounting for bad drivers. And all of this relates to bad drivers. And until people start driving better and being more observant, we're always going to run the risk on that road. If we put crosswalks on, we're still going to run the risk. So people's driving behaviour needs to change. They need to slow down and they need to be more alert, because while we're wearing the brunt of this at the moment and we're trying to find solutions, people do need to drive a lot better through there and be more aware. We see it on the main street here every day. So, yeah, but no, this is a good thing. I think probably the other thing to note in all of this is that Coormamup, for us when we're going to Perth now, is the only town that we drive through. So people that are visiting Margaret River now, Coormamup is the only town that they drive through. And that might be a bit of a shock to people who've been doing 110 all the way down and dealing with people and cars all of a sudden. So, yeah, it's quite interesting. Yeah. It's great when you're going to Perth, though. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Canal. Interesting insight. Thank you. Any further? No? Thank you. Well, let's put that to the vote, councillors. All those in favour? And that's carried unanimously. We now move to item 11.3.1, the outcomes of the general electors meeting. Do I have a councillor who would like... Thank you, Councillor Binks. Put forward a motion.
Thank you, Deputy Shire President. I am going to move an alternative motion. And that... do we have the words for that on the screen? Okay. The alternative motion is... as is written on the screen. It's probably a bit too long for me to read out, correct?
Maybe if you can just speak to it briefly. Actually, do I have a councillor to second it? Yeah, thank you, Councillor Dath.
Thank you. This alternative motion, basically, it's almost administrative in nature, but it just accurately reflects the fact that in December, Council decided to defer consideration of this until the March OCM, Ordinary Council meeting. So the alternative motion is to, in fact, say that, yes, we note everything that's been moved, but we are going to consider it in light of the decision that we make in the 26th of March 2025. And that's the primary purpose, to allow us to consider all of this information at the time that we have said that we are going to consider it.
Thank you, Councillor Binks. Councillor Dath, did you want to speak to this alternative motion? No? Do I have any other councillors who would like to speak to this alternative motion? Councillor Boland.
Yes, I just want to get clear which it is. We've got quite a bit of text there. Possibly, is it at the top of that page that's there now? Oh.
Just there, thank you.
Top of page 43. So.
Okay, so I will just read it for clarity. So that Council notes the position raised and reviews the implications formally in the context of considering the Climate Adaptation Plan towards resilience at the 25th of March 2025 Ordinary Meeting of Council. And the reason for that is because the Council decision previously requires the Climate Adaptation Plan to come back before Council at the March Ordinary Meeting. And this issue should be considered in the context of the decision on the Climate Adaptation Plan at that time. So that refers to the agricultural policy considerations, and it also refers to the notes made by Erin Hutton. Is that helpful, Councillor Boland, or do you have further questions?
Because aren't we dealing with receiving the minutes of the General Meeting of Electors as number 1, note the acceptance of the annual report as number 2, then go to number 3, which I think is what you were talking to. And I think the agricultural policy, that can be part of this, I guess. So we are dealing with the receiving the minutes of the AGM.
Yeah, that's point 4.
No, hang on, I'm getting 4 and 1 here.
1, 2, 3 and 4.
I might pass over to the CEO just for clarification on this administration here. Thank you.
Thank you. Through the chair. So we had the matter we're dealing with is points 1 through to 4 as one motion.
I think we're only hearing 3 and 4 before, so that's. I want to make sure that 1 and 2 were in there. So, yeah.
Are there any further questions or comments from councillors? No. Okay, let's put that alternative motion to the vote. All those in favour? Thank you. So that's carried unanimously, and that will be followed accordingly at the next meeting. Thank you. We now move to item 11.3.2, excision of a portion of Reserve 37811 to amalgamate with Reserve 27643. Do I have a councillor who would like to put forward a motion? Thank you, Councillor Earl. Do I have a councillor who would second? Thank you, Councillor Dath. Councillor Earl? No, thanks. Would you like to put forward the recommendations from the staff?
Yes, I'll just put the recommendation, thanks.
Thank you. Councillor Dath?
Yeah, me and Councillor Boland went and had a look at this site the other day, and what we saw while we were there and what's on the map, yeah, we agree that it's going to take quite a long process for this, so this is the first step going out to community consultation, so we support the Shire recommendation with this.
Thank you, Councillor Dath. Are there any other councillors who would like to speak to this? No, thank you. Let's put that to the vote then, please. All those in favour? Thank you. We now move to item 11.3.3, list of payments for January 2025. Do I have a councillor who would like to put this forward? Thank you, Councillor Cannell. And Councillor Cannell, would you like to speak to this?
Just to move the officer's recommendation as written. Okay.
No? Are there any other councillors who would like to speak? No, we will put that to the vote then. All those in favour? Thank you. We now move to item 11.3.4, the financial activity statement for December 2024. Do I have a mover, please? Thank you, Councillor Councillor Cannell. Do you have a motion you'd like to put forward?
The officer's recommendation as written, yeah.
Councillor Dath, you'd like to be a seconder? Thank you. No? Okay, no. No. Councillor Boland? It's been seconded. Thank you. Thank you. Can we please put that to the vote? All those in favour? Thank you. We now move to item 11.3.5, the 2024-25 budget review. Do I have a... Thank you, Councillor Binks. Do you have a motion you'd like to put forward?
I'll be moving the officer's recommendation with amendments.
Do I have a councillor to second that? Would you like to... Yeah.
No, it's just the officer's recommendation. It's what we're doing right now.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Dath. Councillor Binks?
Yeah, thank you. I also wish to propose to Council the following amendments. I'll just give our minute taker a moment to catch up. There we go. Okay. Point 1, requests the CEO remove the Rivermouth Toilet Block Renewal Project from the 2024-25 Forward Capital Works Program, noting more work is required to scope these works with municipal funds allocated in the 2024-25 budget for the project quarantined in the Asset Renewal Reserve. Point 2, adopts the 2024-25 budget review adjusted for the removal of the Rivermouth project in accordance with Regulation 33A of the Local Government Financial Management Regulations 1996, and point 3, adopts budget amendments to the 2024-25 adopted annual budget to align with the mid-year budget review figures. Thank you.
Councillor Dath? Yeah, so... Councillor Binks, would you like to speak to this amendment?
Yes, I'll speak briefly to it. After having inspected the condition of the Rivermouth toilet block, while there is some work that needs to be done, I do not believe that there is urgency with it. So I think that we can reconsider that project down the track. I do, however, consider that the construction of the path on Duggan Drive is an important one for us to maintain. Apart from that, the rest of the budget is fine.
Councillor Dath?
Yeah, I agree with this amendment. I feel that there may be other public facilities that we may need to address before we address this one. Don't think it should be the highest on the priority, so I support this amendment to remove it for now and look at it again in the budget period.
Are there any other councillors who would like to speak to this amendment? No. Councillors, can we please put that to the vote? All those in favour of this amendment? Thank you. That now becomes part of the substantive motion. And we can now look at the whole motion, including that. Councillors, is there anyone who would like to speak to the budget review in totality?
I suppose so. It's quite an important part of our process as councillors to have a look at the budget midway through. It's a lot of money that we're spending on behalf of the community. I think overall you'd say we're tracking quite well, a little bit ahead of budget, meaning not as much spent as we were anticipating maybe, and that position is improved again by the amendment that we've put into the motion. So it seems like there's been good work done by the administration in terms of working to the budget that we set, and the community, I hope, is comforted by us tracking quite well and wise spending of the rates that we have raised. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Boland. I'd like to concur. We've had a number of briefings already at looking at the budget and ensuring that we are tracking well and thinking carefully about how we are spending our money from the ratepayers. Could we please put that to the vote? All those in favour? Thank you, and that was carried unanimously. We now move on to item 12, motions from members of which previous notice has been given, and I have none before me. Item 13, motions for consideration at next meeting, and I have none before me. Item 14, new business of an urgent nature, and we have luckily nothing before us. Item 15, confidential business, and we have nothing before us. So we move to the closure of the meeting, and thank you so much everyone for attending and for participating. Thank you. I declare the meeting closed at 6:42. Thank you very much.